Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So when I'm putting a video together like this, I don't like it to be perfect. I want it to be clearly obvious that I'm not like in a movie studio with all these people working around me doing the perfect writing. I got the perfect editors, I got the makeup and the lighting is all perfect. I'm just one guy. Just one guy in the world who's super busy. I've got so much problems, I got physical freaking obligations, and I got fucking mental and emotional obligations of what I deal with in my real life. It's tough. It's just brutally tough. So when I put forth an effort to do a video like this, it's like I want it to be clearly obvious that I have to struggle just to be able to produce this video. This is a struggle. This is not easy for me to do. And then on top of all of that, I'm carrying the burden of what the fucking story and the discovery that's taken place in these videos. I'm carrying this burden largely on my own. I get some support. There's some people out there. As I've been doing this a long time, so there's been a progression of all the time when I've been doing this, I've had people come by and say, wow, oh my God, I can't believe that you're explaining this, and now I see it, But that doesn't mean they constantly come back and watch all my videos, and they're not constantly supporting me and giving me encouragement. It happens, it's kind of one of those things that's I think that they start to feel the burden, and then once they get introduced to my story, and then what happens in their life is that once you hear my story, you're going to want to tell other people, right? So when they go tell other people in their world, I'm assuming that they're going to get the same reaction as what I get. These people are going to be like, what? I call them they cry. They can't deal with reality, so they just cry and they whine, and then they start attacking you because they're so weak. The only thing they know how to do is to act like a little baby and start attacking you. It's people who attack people are not strong people. Those are weak people because they're not mentally strong enough and spiritually strong enough to be able to deal with the situations, and then they don't care about the other people, and they prove it because instead of them using their mind and their soul to be able to overcome this conflict, they just attack them and kill them. It's like the attacking and killing doesn't prove you're strong, it proves you're weak and shit, right? So when I make this video, this video here, I got, freaking 8 windows open, so it's okay, I didn't plan on how, people, they practice, all the sports teams, you practice, there's practice, and people, when they go on TV, they practice before they go do the show, they practice, there's all that stuff. So, okay, I just put these windows here, got my camera, bam, I'm gonna go make my video, right? It's I didn't practice this, so it's not gonna be perfect. And what happens in the end is that I like it that way because I know that later on in life that people, when they come back and look upon my work, they're going to appreciate it this way. This is what it is. There's no faking it. There's not me trying to act like I'm somebody I'm not. This is who I am, and I don't mind that there's mistakes, and you're going to see that I didn't practice this, and I want it to be that way. I don't like stuff to be perfectly edited and the narration and the music and everything's perfect. It's I don't want it to be that. I like that my stuff is not of that quality. And now I get people yelling at me because they expect my videos. They come at me and they say, oh, well, you didn't prove this and this. It's I've got to prove everything in 30 minutes, It's it's got to be a 30-minute sitcom. I've got to do it all perfectly, and I got to wrap it up in a nice little bow tie and finish it off in the end. It's dude, this is not a 30-minute sitcom. This is a investigation about Michael Jackson's entire life. And you know how much stuff, parts of the story I have to talk about? And these people attack me, and it's well, you didn't talk about this. It's oh, I had to talk about every single thing. And that's what they do. It's when they see my story, then they start coming up with their own ideas of how it should be done, or what's the important parts about this. And so it's dude, you want to do an investigation? Do your own investigation. Go make your own videos. This is how my videos are. That's all there is to it, And I'm so proud of the work that I've accomplished in the investigation that I've done, and the few people along the way that have been encouraging, and people that have actually given me some information and stuff. It's not often, but I have gotten a few times. People have given me some great pieces, the stuff that I've used in videos. There's been some great stuff, and that's one of the things about the Michael Jackson community. When I started yelling at them and calling them all fake fans and stuff, right? Is because look at, I'm sitting here telling you, I understand that being the Michael Jackson fans of what you are means that you have information. I don't study like the Michael Jackson stuff that they study. That means that there's information there that I don't have. And so, like, when I tell the Michael Jackson fans, it's like, start looking at it this way. And then tell me from your investigation of being the fan of what you are, tell me about things that are out there that I'm not looking for, because I'm doing a different investigation. And I'm not a Michael Jackson fan. I'm not the kind of fan that's like, I've got to hear every song. Oh, I've got to know that song, or else I'm not a Michael Jackson. I'm not that way. There's a bunch of Michael Jackson songs that I don't know. If you're going to give me a trivia, it's like, if you told me like a trivia and you wanted to say like, what album is this song on? It's like, well, you know, like Thriller and Bad, I probably could do those and stuff. But on other songs and stuff, I could get confused about which album it's on, you know. I might not know. Yeah, I know all those songs. I know not all of them. I know a lot of songs. I know so much. But it's not so much important to me which album it's actually on and stuff, right? It's like, there's just weird things like that. There's all kinds of stuff like that. I'm not that kind of fan and stuff, right? There's all kinds of things that's like, that are out there and stuff. And so one of the things happened here is that, and this is one of the things that pissed me off, is that I should have instantly, when I spoke about Michael Jackson having the relation to the Sword and the Stone, as to the verse of the Billie Jean song is the who will dance on the floor in the round, and then see that verse it keeps see, like, this is where I'm not perfect. It's like when I'm trying to think of that word, it's like advancing, it develops. The word I'm looking for is like develop. Sometimes when I'm looking for that specific word, it doesn't come to me, so it takes me a few seconds. So it says, who will dance on the floor in the round, and then later it says, so we danced on the floor in the round. The dance keeps developing and stuff, right? Because that's what happened with, like, Michael Jackson and Diana Ross. After Diana Ross tells Michael Jackson, when he's about 10, 11 years old, that she's his real mother, that's what the song Billie Jean is about. So at first it's the who will dance on the floor, then later it's we danced on the floor in the round. It's that dance is developing because Michael Jackson and Diana Ross's relationship is developing. And it starts with the Billie Jean, though. The Billie Jean is so freaking phenomenal. Okay, so this is Michael Jackson. So with the Sword and the Stone, so after I made the video saying that that line, who will dance on the floor in the round, I was saying it was related to the Sword and the Stone. So then I put I don't think it's this exact picture I put as the thumbnail photo, but it was one basically like this. You can see this one has Michael's signature on it. So I was wanting to see, like, okay, where's this photo come from? Is this like a painting that was painted for Michael Jackson? Like, is it in his house? And then it was saying stuff about like an album, Sword in the Stone, but I kind of tried to look that up, but I didn't see it. So, like, that's the thing where I'm saying, it's like, is there an album that Michael has like this, or is there a song? I tried to look that up too. I didn't really find that. So that's one of those things. Like, is there more to that I'm not even? It said something that there kind of was. I looked for it. I didn't find it. But what it did say, it said that the Jackson's Victory Tour opens with the scene of the Sword and the Stone. And now, like, okay, I saw the Victory Tour, but I was freaking 13 years old back then, you know? In 84, I'm like 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. I think it was in 85, the concert. So, yeah, I'm like 13 years old back then. I don't remember all that stuff. I'm almost 50 now, you know, so you don't remember that stuff. Not everything, it's like you just don't remember everything like that. You're just so excited to be there. It's like I'm just experiencing it. I'm not sitting there trying to remember everything so I could go back and tell people and be the real, I'm a real fan if you don't remember. It's like, no, it was the experience is what I remembered. Just being it was Dodger Stadium in LA is where I saw the Victory Tour. So just being there. Just the experience of it, and just, in the crowd, and being in the arena, and the stadium and stuff. It's just the experience is what I remember going through it and stuff. And I could tell you little parts about the singing and stuff, but I don't remember like Michael doing the moonwalk. I don't remember that. It's not like little stuff. And there's just like you just remember being there and hearing the songs, and it's just different things like that. So I didn't remember, even though I went to the Victory Tour, I didn't remember that that's how it started and stuff. And when I go back and watch it, it's like, oh yeah, I can remember they kind of were doing something like this. I mean, it's weird, like stuff like that, right? So That's one of the things I was mentioning, is that when I was talking about the Sword and the Stone, how come one of these true Michael Jackson fans, who's all they do is they watch the videos and they listen to songs, but that's the stuff they do, and they've done that more recently. So one of them should have instantly came to me and said, hey, you know, that Sword and the Stone, it's funny that you bring that up, because that's how the Victory Tour starts. That's how they start the show, is with the Sword and the Stone thing, you know. One of them should have came to me instantly and told me that, but that didn't happen. So what happened was, I was researching this right here, this photo, trying to see if I get more information about Michael Jackson and the Sword and the Stone, and then it said that the Victory Tour opened that way, and it said that the Triumph Tour opened something like that too. So I went ahead and looked those up, and so let me show you that now. Let me show you. Here's okay, so the Triumph Tour isn't like the total Sword in the Stone, Sword in the Stone thing, but there is a night, there is something, okay? So this is the Triumph Tour. You see he's dressed as a knight, somebody is. And the music, it's like medieval type of music like that, right? Okay, so there's a knight, and so it's not the full-on Sword in the Stone, but there is something in the Triumph Tour that's related to that tour, to that also. Okay, but the Victory Tour, the Victory Tour does a full-on like recreation of the Sword in the Stone. Okay, so this is the Victory Tour. This is how it starts.
Whoever would pull this sword from the stone would be king. For years and years, it was prophesied that a mighty one would come and pull the sword from the stone and destroy the Cretan people. This one would be called Great, most holy and powerful. His kingdom shall be a kingdom that will never be brought to ruin. It will last for time indefinite, till time indefinite. But who would pull the sword from the stone?
Okay, so totally, I mean, it's totally the Sword and the Stone, and they're dressed as like the knights and stuff. It's the actual story, the mythological story of the Sword and the Stone. That's what they're actually talking about and stuff. They did a recreation of it to start the Jackson's Victory Tour. Now, and how it's about king, okay, because so what happened when I looked up the Sword and the Stone, it turned out that it was King Arthur. That's a story of King Arthur, but when he pulls the sword from the stone, he's only 11 years old, and he was an orphan child. And so it's like, well, this is that relation of what I keep saying to Michael, that there's this thing about these orphans, you know, but then you grow up to be king and stuff, right? And so then, like Michael Jackson fans, they'll say like, oh, Michael didn't call himself the king. That is like, well, the king of pop, you know? It's like the king of pop thing. It's like, well, he didn't call himself that. That happened with Elizabeth Taylor when she said Michael's the true king of rock, pop, and soul. And then Michael later says, oh, well, he says that Elizabeth said that, and then Michael would go to the concerts and the people were hanging up banners saying king of pop, and the fans were yelling king of pop, king of pop. So then that's how the name like it developed and stuff, right? But Elizabeth Taylor, she's all around that Hollywood stuff. And Michael, you can see that this Sword in the Stone story was very prevalent and was important to Michael and stuff. So you could see that you could make a hypothesis that maybe Michael Jackson and Elizabeth Taylor had conversations about this, about the Sword and the Stone, and Michael relating himself to this young child pulling the sword out of the stone, like being like the lead singer of the Jackson 5, and then growing up to be the king and stuff, right? It being the true king. And then you could see that maybe him and Elizabeth Taylor had conversations like that, and then that's how it developed, where Elizabeth Taylor then proclaims Michael Jackson to be the true king. You know, it's like there's this development that happens between these people, and that's what I'm trying to show in my videos, is like the true real life experiences that help develop these things that have occurred, you know, instead of just saying no, Michael is the king of pop because Elizabeth Taylor proclaimed him the king of pop. Okay, well, that's just, you're just telling me some words. That's just, okay, I'm trying to explain how does the development of this occur in real life from these people's experiences, these real life experiences, right? That's what I'm trying to show you and stuff. And why is Michael so fond of this like particular thing, the Sword and the Stone? It's like, well, when you find out that Diana Ross, and this is what the song Billie Jean is about, that Diana Ross is Billie Jean, and Diana Ross tells Michael he's the one, that's what he says, she says, I'm the one, because he's the love child of her and Smokey Robinson. It was because of his birth that spawned all of these other weird events to occur, like Diana Ross, if she doesn't get pregnant by Smokey Robinson and then abandon her child, she doesn't have that connection then to Smokey and to Berry Gordy, which enables her to force her way into Motown, and then that enables her to become the lead singer of the Supremes, which is like the greatest girls band of all time and stuff, right? So if that doesn't happen, then then they don't know how their real lives develop. It develops differently. So Michael spawned all these events, like I'm saying. Smokey then, because he was going to abandon Michael, he writes the song called Shop Around. That was the first song that sold 1 million records and which transitioned Tamla Records into Motown. So without that song, then how would have Tamla developed into Motown? So we don't know how that would have happened, and it only happened because of the situation of Michael being abandoned by his parents, Diana and Smokey. Then they give Michael to the Jacksons, and then Joe uses that and turns it into the Jackson 5. So we've got the Jackson 5 and stuff. That's what I'm saying, like Michael being the one. It's like a thing by God. You were chosen to be this thing, this instrument of God that allowed all of these other things to happen. And so then that's where Michael is feeling like this connection, like the sword and the stone, because it's like you're like chosen by God, that only you can pull that sword out of the stone and be the true king of what you are. You're like anointed by God as the king and stuff, right? So that's what the King Arthur, and the King Arthur, he pulls the sword when he's just 11 years old. So that's Michael then being the lead singer of the Jackson 5 and becoming like this great band, and he's the lead singer when he's just like 10, 11 years old, when the Jackson 5 start hitting big and stuff, right? So you can see the attraction and the similarities, and then that kid grows up to become King Arthur and stuff, right? So Michael grows up to become the king of pop. You can see the similarities and the contrast of the same stories of Michael's real life experience of what he's experiencing to and he's showing you the symbolization of his inner feelings by saying that this is what he's connecting with, is this story about King Arthur. And King Arthur, like I said, he was an orphan, an 11-year-old boy who is anointed by God to pull that sword out of the stone and become the true king of England, or Britain, whatever it is. So, I mean, you can see the similarities. And this is how they start, like the Jackson Victory Tours does this big theatrical sword in the stone thing to start the whole victory tour, right? So then there's that, and then I wanted to show you a thing about like orphans really quick, is that I was a lot of times I would call Michael an orphan, right? But then the fans and stuff were yelling at me saying he's not an orphan, because orphans are children that have lost their parents. They don't have, their parents are dead. And I was saying no, that you can be an orphan just if your parents are gone. If you don't have parents, that you're an orphan and stuff, right? You've been orphaned. And they were saying no. So then I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not going to fight that battle because it's not that important of a battle to argue about. And I'll just keep calling Michael an abandoned child, that he's abandoned. So that's what I kind of veered over that way, to just say, okay, I'll go ahead and stop using the word orphan and stuff, and I'll just use the abandoned child, but I'll still talk about orphans and stuff, and I'll show stuff like that, because Michael was so obviously interested in orphans. So now it's like stuff like this, too. It's like, so then, the day before, on, I watch a lot of Turner Classic Movies, and, the actual reason, and see, this is how like life works, it's these weird things and stuff, right, is that the reason I started watching Turner Classic Movies is because it was about like it was probably a few months after Michael Jackson died, because it was about 6 months after that I saw The Lady Sings the Blues. But so after Michael Jackson died, I'm not a super fan where like I have all this Michael Jackson stuff. I have the stuff I bought when I was a kid, and I would follow Michael Jackson, but I wasn't like super fan where I had to know everything, because I've got all these other bands I'm interested in. There's so much other stuff, you know? So, but Michael Jackson was just always around. I would watch any of the shows that they would do, the specials, I'd always watch them, and I would enjoy his songs. They'd always play his music on the radio, and so I always enjoy it and stuff, right? So I was always a fan of Michael Jackson. But so when he died, it was serious. That was a big thing. I can explain a lot more about what it is, but it hit me hard, okay? So when Michael Jackson died, that hit me hard. And then I felt that, like, okay, we're in this world now, and Michael Jackson's not here. It's one of those things that you have to experience. It's like, okay, because my whole life, it's like Michael Jackson I'm born in 72, so Michael Jackson literally was... he was around my whole life and stuff, right? So it's one of those things that you, like, when you talk about, like, entertainers that are big, like, entertainers and influences during your period of life, okay, Michael Jackson was easily, like, if he's not the biggest one, you know, I'd have to think about who else, but he would be, like, the big one, where it's like, I lived in a world in the era of which Michael Jackson existed, okay? So when he died, it's one of those things that you don't think about it, you don't understand how it's going to affect you and stuff, but what happens is it's like, okay, now that's gone, and it's like, okay, so I felt that it's like, okay, I live in an era now where Michael Jackson's not here, I'm alive and I'm here, but he's not. He's gone now. Now I live in this world where Michael Jackson's dead, and you're having to live in this new era where it's like you're not living in the era where Michael Jackson was alive, and you know, now you're living in this new era where Michael Jackson's dead. Okay, so it's this weird transition so I felt all that shit, right? And so I started watching the Turner Classic Movies, because being a Michael Jackson fan, I knew Michael Jackson loved the classic movies and he loved all that stuff, right? But I had never really seen all the old movies and stuff. But one of the things is I heard Michael Jackson talking about him a lot. So I started watching the Turner Classic Movie channel, and I started watching these old movies, and then instantly it came on quick, where it's like you get to see all these old actors and stuff. You know, you learn about the old directors and the films, the way they wrote the things, the way they acted, it was different. They're much better. They're really, really good, but they're a slower paced movies, and it's about dialogue. They have the writing is better, a lot of dialogue and stuff. It's not just all action. A lot of dialogue, and so there's subtleties that are occurring and stuff. And so when I was younger, that stuff probably didn't interest me because it was a little too slow, and I wasn't smart enough to appreciate what I was seeing. But now, like when Michael Jackson died, I'm old enough where when I was watching that stuff, I got to really just appreciate it. And so one of the things that I was really appreciating was, like, understanding that this is knowledge and these are things that Michael Jackson enjoyed. So part of my watching the TCM and all the older stuff is that I was watching all these old movies and I knew Michael Jackson enjoyed all these things, and it was new for me. It was a new experience. So I was getting to, like, enjoy this new experience of Michael Jackson where he's dead, but then it brought to life this new experience where I got, like, closer to him by feeling like his emotions and his interest of these classic films and stuff like that, right? So I'm watching the Turner Classic Movies, and that's how it started. The reason I got into the classic movies, it was because Michael died. Because he died, and I was looking for another connection to him, that drew me to the Turner Classic Movie channel. And then that's where I saw the movie Lady Sings the Blues, and that's when I had the vision of Michael looking like Diana, that they look so much alike. And then that's when I had the thought that, I was like, could Diana be Michael's mom? Is that what that whole connection was about? And then I started doing research. That's how it all started and shit, right? So, like, if Michael doesn't die, I don't go into the TCM, I don't watch the movie Lady Sings the Blues, I don't see the vision, I never ask the question. Like, that's just how it happened. It's weird how things develop in life. But so not last night, the night before, I was watching Turner Classic Movies, and Annie was on, okay? And so I had never seen Annie, but this was the 1983 version of Annie. I've never seen the original one, the older one, but this was the 1983, and it's still Annie. It's going to be the same story. They're singing the same songs. It's going to be much very similar type of show, right? So I was watching it, and then I looked for this scene in the movie. I couldn't find it exactly, but what I was saying is that this is a play about Annie, and the plays are exactly like the movie. So this scene, like the words here, it's like verbatim. It's a word for word the same thing that's taken place in this play took place in the movie. Okay, so I'm going to show you this little part here in this play because I wanted to reference that. Annie, it's like her name's Little Orphan Annie, okay? It's Little Orphan Annie. That's it. It's funny because when you go to like stuff like with Annie, because in that movie A Christmas Story, right? Because that's what he's like when he's gonna break the code, you know? He's got his code breaker when he gets into the, and he's got to watch the show. It's Little Orphan Annie, and then he breaks the code and says, "Remember to drink your Ovaltine," or whatever it is. He's all a commercial. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is like these connections to like things with like Annie, and then if you watch the Annie, then you're gonna enjoy like that. I love the movie A Christmas Story. I mean, a freaking classic, right? But it's even better, like those lines, what happened is what you find out in cinema is they put all this little subtleties in modern movies, and they do stuff like that. Like there's like a line that says, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille," okay? Now, like, a lot of you people, you might not have heard, you don't know what that is, right? But what happens is when you're familiar with it, you find out that it's a common phrase that people say a lot, especially like in Hollywood and stuff, because it comes from a movie called Sunset Boulevard, which is just a phenomenal movie. And it's like, you'd have to go watch, if you haven't seen Sunset Boulevard, but it's one of those things, parts of it are subtle and stuff, some of it's slower. But when you actually, like I said, I'm old enough that I was able to super enjoy Sunset Boulevard, the movie Sunset Boulevard, and it's just, there's a scene at the end where the lady's totally having her breakdown, she's just lost it, right? And then she says, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille," and you'd have to see the movie to understand it. But once you've seen it and you understand it, then what happens is you hear that all the time in the movie. So if you haven't seen Sunset Boulevard and you don't understand what that line means, then you don't appreciate that line. But once you've seen Sunset Boulevard, and then whenever you see somebody say, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille," it's like, oh, it's so much better when you've seen Sunset Boulevard. And then you see somebody do that. So like I was saying, in Christmas Story, things like, I don't know Annie, and there's subtleties about things that take place, but when you actually are familiar with it and stuff, then it enhances all these other things. And that's part of what I found too when I was watching the classic movies. I found all this other information that I found out that when I watched modern movies, that they would do all these subtleties, like that line, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille." I didn't understand that. I never got to really appreciate it till I watched Sunset Boulevard. But now that I've seen that, and so it happens with movies all the time, like in The Christmas Story with the Annie and stuff, right? So just like there's all kinds, and so that's what I'm saying about Michael Jackson, about understanding him and appreciating him, how I went to these old movies and now I've got just all this knowledge and stuff about this old movies, and I can appreciate all this stuff. And then now when you're older and I see Michael Jackson like having this infatuation with Disney and being really attracted to people like Shirley Temple and the character of Annie, and then that movie that Mark Lester was in, Oliver, because that's Oliver Twist, who was an orphan, you know, and then you find all these connections and stuff, and then you get to feel this connection to who Michael Jackson actually was, and then like the King Arthur, and it's like when I see that kid in the King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone, and it's like, man, imagine being Michael Jackson. Now you see the connection of what he's got to this and stuff. And then this also in Annie, the Daddy Warbucks is really rich and stuff, right? So you get, and then there was a thing, I think he lost his parents and became rich and stuff, and you see that connection to Michael Jackson too, that mind mentality of stuff. But so I wanted to show you this part because the people were hounding me saying that Michael's not an orphan because his parents aren't dead. But then in Little Orphan Annie, and her name's Orphan Annie, her parents aren't dead when they give her away. They abandoned her, but that to an orphanage, which makes her an orphan.
This locket, my mother and father left it when they left me at the orphanage. And, well, I know I'm real lucky being here with you for Christmas and all, but the one thing that I really want for Christmas is to find my mother and father and be like other kids with real folks of my own.
Okay, so now think about Michael Jackson watching an Annie movie and having him being the kid after Diana Ross has told him, and then he's watching Annie and she says a line like that, okay? Now you can feel it in Michael Jackson's soul. You can feel that like he was abandoned as a child. And he really wants to find his mother and father, and he wants to be like other children and have a family and stuff, right? You can see that desire in Michael Jackson, and you can see that in his life development of who he became and the way he acted and all the things. You can see that that was occurring in Michael Jackson's life. And then you can see the fondness for stuff like Annie and stuff, and you can hear the words there, and you can see that, boy, this touched Michael Jackson's soul. And then you can see it in his art and everything about what he did. And this is the understanding of who Michael Jackson was. But if you don't understand that, like, Michael was told by Diana at like 10, 11 years old that she was his real mother, then Michael had to develop like that way. As he's becoming a star, thinking he's made this great achievement with his family, then Diana robs that from him, and Michael's got to transition into a new development of a new world of what he's living in. And then now these things hit him hard. And you see why he's so emotional and so sensitive, and it's like because he's carrying this burden. This is the burden of what he was carrying his whole life. So, okay, let me show you some other stuff. That's that. And yeah, I just wanted to show you, this is the part, the kid, because I will talk about the kid. This is the kid in the Sword and the Stone. This is the kid that, he's 11 years old, he's an orphan, and then he grows up to be King Arthur.
All right, boy. Let's have the miracle. Now, wait a minute. Anyone can pull it once it's been pulled. You go to it, Kay. Give it all you got. Put your What's she gonna say? One side. That's not fair.
I say we let the boy try it.
That's what I say. Give the boy a chance.
Go ahead, son. It's a miracle ordained by heaven. This boy is our king.
Well, by Jove. What's the lad's name? What? Oh, I mean Arthur. Hail, King Arthur! Hail, King Arthur! Long live the king!
I can't believe it.
Oh, forgive me, son. Forgive me.
Oh, please don't, sir.
Kay, bow down to your king.
Okay, so you can see now the connection and how this would hit Michael in his soul, like this connection to like, and then that's how the Victory Tour starts with the Sword and the Stone. But the story, when you actually see what it is, it's about this 11-year-old orphan boy who pulls it out, and he's like anointed by heaven as the king. He's the true king, and like Michael, he's the one. Michael, she says, I'm the one, but the kid's not my son. Diana's the one who tells Michael, you're the one, but you're not my son. That the contrast of where she embraces him and rejects him. She says, you're the one, you're the reason all this stuff happened because of you, all these events that happened. But she says, but you're a Jackson now. The lie has become the truth. You're not my son. The kid's not my son. And that's what the Billie Jean's actually about. This is the Michael Jackson expressing his inner pains, his soul, his true life experience, right? So, now, in Billie Jean, there was the line, the who will dance on the floor in the round. That's what I've been explaining. It's the Knights of the Round Table, because King Arthur grows up to be the king, and he has the Knights of the Round Table, okay? And so who will dance on the floor in the round? So I was saying that's related to the King Arthur and stuff, right? But then there's also... there's one person that's come around my page that's like, who has also done research. He's the only person who has seriously asked me questions and asked me to explain the story. His name's James L. And so James L., what I liked about James L. is that he would ask me questions, and he would see that he would understand, like if my explaining and my definition of things, he would understand if it would hold up, and he was able to understand it, and he just kept testing me and then he also saw me. I was keeping my investigation was was developing and stuff, right? So he watched as it developed too, and he would see that I'd have to go do research, and then I would find more, and then he would start looking on his own, and he would see that he would start finding stuff, and so then he realized this is real. So then James L. went into Reddit and wrote an article, and because of that article, which got a lot of attention in Reddit, it spawned news articles and stuff, and like the Mirror, like even the Rolling Stone, they did some stupid thing where they were just saying, "Oh, this is," they didn't really investigate. They just said, "Oh, this is just a rumor and shit," right? So stupid. But there is an article in Rolling Stone. There was articles in a lot of papers written about my story, and that's because of the work of what James L. did. And like I said, James L. was the one who actually asked questions. He was working with me and stuff, trying to develop the story. He wanted to see. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to see if this is real." So he would ask questions. He would force me to explain it to him. And then he would do research. He would search things on his own, and he would say that, "Look this is holding up, and there's more information." And so that's the thing where I get mad about the fans. It's like, how come none of the fans are doing that stuff? This story is the best story and stuff, right? So there's one thing James L. had pointed out. I've never brought this into the conversation yet, but it's one I just spoke with him the other day, and he reminded me of what the poem's name was. And so it's like, okay, I wanted to get this in there and stuff, right? So this is the time. So there's also, because Michael is an artist, and he'd be interested in like poets and like art, any art that exists. Michael's interested in that stuff. So this is a poem called, now James said it was called The Secret, but on this page it says The Secret Sits, by Robert Frost. Okay, so here, this is a poem, a little poem by Robert Frost called The Secret Sits. Okay,
The Secret Sits by Robert Frost. We dance round a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows. By Robert Frost.
Listen to it again.
We dance round a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows.
We dance round a circle and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows. I believe that's what it says. So who will dance on the floor in the round? So that's like with that poem. See, they dance on the floor in the round, and they dance on the floor and suppose in the floor of the round, but the secret sits in the middle and knows the truth. And so it's like, that's also like I'm saying that the King Arthur and stuff, and then there's a bigger secret. There's a bigger secret to Michael being the one. It's not just that he's appointed by God as being the one. He's part of being an abandoned. There's a secret, and they can dance on the circle and stuff, right? But in the middle of the secret is this, in the circle, and the secret knows. There's a secret. There's a secret behind all of this, and the secret, and this is a song, Billie Jean. The whole song is like a secret. Michael is telling you about the secret of what is causing this dance to occur. And so it's like that poem really fits this too. And then it's about the sword and the stone, of Michael being like the King Arthur, the chosen one and stuff, that only he was the one. He was anointed by God. So it's like all of it. It's one of these things about when you're looking at art, it's not this one little thing. It's all of, you got to be thinking that Michael is drawing from all of his life experience, and he's putting it down in the song to develop his art. And that's what this is. This is art. This is Michael Jackson being the artist. And when you see, like, there's that poem, The Secret, and then when you see, like, the King Arthur story, and you start seeing how it develops through the understanding that Michael's abandoned as a child, and Diana Ross tells him the truth, and you start seeing that that's what Billie Jean is about, and how Michael's explaining all of this real-life experience through this song, Billie Jean. And it's like, whoa, this is freaking art, man. Michael was just a phenomenal artist of what he actually did here. It takes it to a whole nother level. So now, like, you can see this video I made talking about the realities of who Michael Jackson really is, and the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm trying to understand who Michael Jackson was, so that better then can get me to understand his artwork, because I'm a fan, okay? And I want to appreciate his artwork on the highest level, right? But now what you get is in what I keep saying is that there's these fake fans in YouTube, right? And one of them is Matt's FTR. One of the real bad ones. He's horrible. He's a horrible person. With his intellect is very, very small, and his soul is incredibly weak, right? And that's what I'm saying. These people that are really dumb and they have these really weak souls, they can't see like what I'm trying to explain, and they can't go there. Their mind and their soul doesn't work. So the only thing they can do is try to belittle me and attack me, and they think that's what makes them better. It's because if they can hurt me, then these are the worst people on the planet, is the people that can't deal with the reality of who they are, and they can't better themselves. Like the man and Michael's telling you, look at starting with the man in the mirror. So, like Michael's telling you, you want to make the world a better place, fix yourself. It's all about you. If you can't fix yourself, then you can't do anything. You're useless. You're no good to this world. If you can't fix yourself, the only thing of what you're going to do is attack. You're going to never make yourself better. The only way you're going to try and make yourself better is by inflicting pain on other people. And then that somehow justifies you and makes you feel superior. That's what I'm saying. Matt's FTR is one of the worst people in the world. The people that are the dumbest, most evilest, pathetic people in the world, this is who they are. And so this is a comment, what he wrote to me, so I can clearly show you that this is the Michael Jackson fan community that's out there, and this is how they treat me. So Matt's FTR says to me, an American scheme, I've explained to you multiple times why your videos are not facts. And it's like, he's never done that. He's not capable of doing that. But listen to the words of what he's saying. He's explained, because he's so superior with his superior knowledge, and he's such a superior Michael Jackson fan, and he's explained to me, the poor little idiot, right? This is how these people are. I've explained to you. And so he's saying, where's your explanations? There's no explanations. All I get is this is just an attack from an evil man, right? I've explained to you multiple times why your videos are not facts. Where is my video not facts? Because you say it's not true? That's all he does. He says, Diana Ross is not Michael's mother. I don't believe that, so it's not true. He thinks that that's fact. He thinks that overcomes all of my information and my research and all of the facts. He thinks by him just saying it's not true. He thinks that that's what he's explaining to me. I said it. I'm Matt's FTR. I told you your work's not true, so it's not true then. That's what he did, right? So he says, but your ego gets in the way. My ego, I don't have ego. I've got facts and evidence. And what gets in the way, Matt's FTR, of you is the problem that you have so much facts and evidence of what I'm putting down that you can't overcome. And because you can't deal with the reality of the facts and the evidence of what I put forth in my videos, the only thing of the nature, your evil nature, and your pathetic, weak, simple-minded version of who you are as a human being is to attack me and trying to belittle me and to try and destroy my work, because the only thing that can justify you is that to destroy the work that what I'm doing. Which means you're actually trying to destroy Michael Jackson's true message from getting out to the world and helping people. You are a despicable, disgusting human being. Total pathetic excuse for a Michael Jackson fan. You're the worst of the worst, Matt's FTR. So he says, it's too bad. Oh, see how he's trying to belittle me and put me down and make himself feel so superior. Then he says, blocking again, I don't talk to brick walls. And so, because he can't deal with anything, he can't deal with the questions I ask him. He can't answer, and he won't. He refuses to look at the man in the mirror so he can become a better human being, so then he can understand Michael Jackson, the actual person of what he is. He refuses. He hates that shit. He doesn't want to find out the truth of how great Michael Jackson is, because then that's going to make him feel inferior. He doesn't want to feel inferior to Michael Jackson. He wants to put on a freaking fedora and dance around like Michael Jackson so he can feel like he's the same as Michael Jackson. That's what these fake fans do. They're not appreciating of how great Michael Jackson is. They're bringing him down to their pathetic level, and they're anointing themselves like, look at me, I could dance like Michael Jackson. I could have been a Michael. So Michael Jackson's nothing special. They're fake. That's why I keep telling you, they're fake fans because they're terrible people. They don't like Michael Jackson. They hate the fact that Michael Jackson is so talented. And if they actually understand how talented he was, then they're going to find out how pathetic they actually are. So he doesn't talk to brick wall. So I'm a brick wall. I'm the person here that's not willing to have a conversation. I'm the person here that's not having any true understanding of what's going on. Oh, it's me. It's all my fault. This is what I deal with. And like I said, that's a perfect example of who these Michael Jackson fans are, the way they treat me. This is the way they treat Michael Jackson. This is the way they treat the world. This is the problem with the world. This is the world Michael Jackson had to live in his whole life. And this is what I'm trying to overcome.